Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be talking about the lifecycle hooks in the unmounting phase. So we have one lifecycle hook which we have in the unmounting phase, and that is the disconnected callback. So let us see what is disconnected callback and how we can use that when this particular callback is fired. So today's agenda is disconnected callback. Now, what is disconnected callback? This is one of the callbacks which is automatically called by the LWC uh, when this when the component is removed from the DOM. DOM is basically the document object model. So whenever any component is loaded out of the DOM, the disconnected callback gets fired. Okay. Now, this is something which is very much specific to LWC only, and it is not something which is related to HTML custom elements. Okay. And if we talk about how the particular callback flows from parent to child, it is basically from parent to child only and not the other way around. So first the parent disconnected callback gets called and then the child called. Okay. Now, let us see our previous example. So we had a component where we talked about parent and child, how it is getting called and all. Today we will see about disconnected callback. So coming back to our uh, parent and child components, let us first create a child visible variable. Okay. So our component will be shown only when the variable is set to true. So we'll say is child let me copy this. So whenever our is child visible is true, only in that case our child component will render. Okay. So in this way, when the when the variable is child visible is false, this component will be loaded out of the DOM. So that is how we can see whether our disconnected callback is working or not. So how can we make this particular variable as true or false? Let us create some buttons. Okay. Now, lightning button. Let's keep the variant as brand. I'll keep the label as show child button, show child component, and I'll keep the title as show child component, and we will need an on-click method. So in order to call the on-click method, we use the parenthesis. So I'll call this as show child. Okay, now let us create this method first in the parent. So show child method. What we will do is we will turn this variable into true. So we need to use this dot is child variable. We'll keep it as true. Okay. Now, now we need one more button to make the child component as false or hide the child component. So we'll create another button and we'll say hide child. Okay. So we'll create another method for this. In sake of simplicity, I am creating two different methods. We can create one simple method and we can handle both the cases as well. So when the show child is called, the child visible is made true. When the hide child is called, the child visible is made false. So this way our component can render and hide the child component. Okay. Now in order to make it more better, I'll use the component. Okay, I want only one. So when the child visible is false, I will add the show button over here, and when the child visible is true, I'll make the hide button available here. So basically, when my child visible is true, I'll show the child component and I'll show the button to hide the child component. When the child visible variable is set to false, I will show the button to activate or show the child variable. Now, let us deploy this component. Okay, but till now we haven't seen any code for the disconnected callback. So our child component will be turned out of the DOM. So we'll have the disconnected callback in the child. So I have a disconnected callback. I'll console over here. Um, Child disconnected callback called. Okay. Now let us deploy the child component as well. Good. Now let us see how this particular thing works into action. Okay. So we can see the child component, and right now I can see the child component. I can see the hide child component button. So as we see in the code, the child visible is true. So we can see the child component and the hide child component button as well. Okay. And if we see the logs, our constructor, connected callback, and rendered callback are called. Now, if I click on the hide child component, what will happen? So the child component is no more in the DOM, and we can see that child disconnected callback is called. And since the child is disconnected, the child is removed out of the DOM, no other methods are called, and the parent is re-rendered. So we have seen the parent rendered callback called. So this is how the disconnected callback works. So our component was removed from the DOM and the disconnected callback hook got fired, and this was it. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining today. This was about disconnected callback. We would come again with another session.